And the National Black Business Caucus says it acknowledges and supports President Cyril Ramaphosa's proposal to register all Spaza shops operating within South Africa. The CEO of the National Black Business Caucus, Volchere Kgekwane, joins me to expand on this. Volchere, perhaps to start here, there are operational complexities to take note of in the registration of the businesses. Already the feedback we've been getting from various communities and specifically foreign national-owned Spaza shops there is that they've had difficulties administratively in getting their businesses registered. Often they engage with municipal officials who aren't adequately acquainted with the processes, who don't know the necessary regulations, and who often make it incredibly cumbersome for them to get their businesses registered. What's your thinking, specifically someone that engages Spaza shops and small businesses across the country?
Good evening and thank you for having us. Well, my thinking on this, and I have a concern, because the concern is the way we are targeting this whole issue, right? So the registration, yes, all businesses must be registered that are in the country, but I don't believe it's as simple as that. That's why the 21 days is a bit of a concern for us. There's Spaza shops. Let's speak specifically about the foreign owned. So these are the people with various types of documents. They've got either asylum or they're outright illegal in the country. So there's a difference between them as to what their status is, right? I have a concern about clustering everybody in one pile and saying they must all do one particular thing because they have different circumstances. Each individual owner has different circumstances. There are reports we are getting of people going to register on behalf of Spaza shops, you're renting out their credentials to be able to assist a Spaza shop to become registered. So for me, this is a problem in our governance of our country. How do you say people must go and register in 21 days when you haven't given them any kind of status? We need to first fix the fundamental
What do you
problems.
mean by status?
Well, you have someone who's been here 5 or 10 years, working in a Spaza shop or running a Spaza shop or owning one, because we never really know. It's always gray as to what position they are in the Spaza shop, right? But this person, you say they must go and register, but you haven't given them either a PR or an adjudication on their asylum seeking, whether it's granted or not, whether they should leave or not. So they are in limbo and they must go and register. So what do? They go and commit fraud, because there's no real option for them to go and register, because they can't register at CIPC. They don't have documents for CIPC. They cannot formalize that environment without government intervention. They themselves, they're not like me, who's got an ID document, can go and register a company, go and comply at SARS, go and comply everywhere because I have an ID document. They are incomplete in the beginning. So if we want them to register, we need to first fix the fundamental problem that they are in. They are limbo. Do we say to them that they don't qualify to be in South Africa anymore?
But that doesn't seem to be the spirit of the announcement by the president. The spirit of the announcement is rather to be able to form a database to know who owns a Spaza shop, where the Spaza shop is operating, and whether or not they have the necessary operational compliances. That is to say, if you are handling food, do you have a health and safety certification? Not necessarily to see if you're tax compliant, if you're registered at CIPC. We understand it's still very much an informal market, still very much, and the milieu of that market is that it often means that these businesses operate in a cash circumstance, don't necessarily have bank accounts, and those necessary conditions. But a little bit less than that. It's about determining who they are, where they are, and what sort of Spaza shop they're operating.
Yes, I agree with all of that. Our request to government is to create a special kind of registration process that is not like the one that I'm expected to go through as a South African. Right. If we want a database of this, let's be clear about what our requirements. Let's say we want you to go to municipality, identify yourself there, whatever documents you have, present them there. We'll put you on a special database that the government is then going to deal with later, how to formalize you, or whatever decision government is going to take. I'm not dictating that side of it. I'm saying you cannot say go and register, because go and register in that language means you need to get your zoning right. And most township houses are not zoned. So how are you going to get a food safety certificate when you are already zoned for residential, where you are selling food? It's already illegal. It's already outside the parameters of the law. So to get the owner of the property to be zoned for a business so that you can get that food certificate, the environmental and food safety certificate, that process has to take place. And we know that's more than an 18 months progress. So I'm saying, government, let's have an intervention. I'm requesting an intervention that says we have a specific kind of registration that we want you to do, because we need to know who you are. We need to know how you are there. We need to know your arrangement there, where you buy your food, how you process your food, how you look after it, and all of that, so that we can even maybe offer you training if we are going to keep you around and formalize you, or look at your conditions in the country, and maybe you might have to return back to your country. Whatever the answer the government is going to come up with, we cannot expect non-compliant people just to go and register. We're causing a whole new
Was this a hastily thought out intervention and reactionary by the government to what has been an outbreak of foodborne illnesses?
Okay, the foodborne illnesses, President Ramaphosa in his speech, correct me if I'm wrong, he mentioned that there's no particular campaign by these shops to go around murdering our children.
Yes.
It's more of a negligence, a lack of training or understanding of how to deal with certain substances that are pesticides in conjunction with dealing with food, right?
Yes.
Two, we have a lack of control ourselves as government, as South African people, on how we control that controlled substance, because that is not something that everybody is supposed to get.
Yes.
And if we are being honest about this issue, this hasn't only happened in Spaza shops. People have committed suicide with it. Children have gotten in contact with it and fell to their demise with it, based on it being used in a household against rats. These things have come around periodically. So the product is controlled. It's not supposed to be utilized by untrained people. So that's one failure. Secondly, why do we have this innate need to use this dangerous pesticide? It's because municipalities are not cleaning the townships. You have a pile higher than this table in every township of rubbish where rodents come out of. And where do they end up? In the shops, because there's a lot of food there. Now you're a shopkeeper. You have no training about this pesticide. You just buy it so that it doesn't eat your stock. The rest don't eat your stock. Then you poison a child in return. So I think we need to look at this holistically if we're going to fix it, and not emotionally saying that, they are criminals from outside. Their home affairs, status is something that Home Affairs needs to deal with.
Sure.
But when we have fatalities and we want to emotionally just dump it on somebody who's a soft target, it doesn't solve the issue, because even after you remove them, is this pesticide still going to be in households, killing more children in households? Is it going to be in schools, where schools are having rodent issues, and then they're putting it? So we need to deal with the whole issue as it stands. And for the Spaza shop specifically, we need to, I'm requesting that government finds a certain kind of registration for them. It can be done by DSBD or whoever, just so that we can know who they are and we can start to monitor. Two, I see another opportunity in the Spaza shop environment, because my black businesses don't have access to ShopRite and Pick n Pay. They don't have access to the commercial giants. Yeah. Right? There's a network of 150,000 shops who are moving 200 billion worth of food a year. And shopping, food and beverage and all those kind of fast-moving consumer goods, right? If we can formalize, clean up, and make sure these shops are good quality and can serve the communities well, we can actually utilize them as our access to the market.
Volchere, thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. That's all we have time for. Volchere Kgekwane is the CEO of the National Black Business Caucus, giving us his thoughts there.